What if the biggest difference between you and the top 1% isn't how much you earn, but how you think about money? Imagine two people earning the same paycheck. One struggles month after month, always wondering where the money went. The other quietly builds wealth, invests wisely, and moves closer to financial freedom every single day. The gap isn't luck. It isn't talent. It's strategy and mindset. According to Tony Robbins, the wealthy don't just work harder, they manage money differently. They follow rules most people were never taught. Rules that turn income into assets, stress into control, and uncertainty into opportunity. In this video, you're going to uncover the exact principles used by the top 1% to take control of their finances and build lasting wealth. These aren't complicated theories or get-rich-quick schemes. They are simple, powerful habits you can start applying today. If you've ever felt like money slips through your fingers, if you've ever wondered why some people always seem ahead, stay with me until the end, because one of these lessons could completely change your financial future. Lesson 1: Control your money or it controls you. To the uninitiated, a budget feels like a financial straitjacket, a series of no's that prevent them from enjoying the fruits of their labor. However, for the top 1%, a budget is the ultimate liberation tool. It is the tactical map for a campaign of wealth accumulation. Controlling your money starts with the psychological shift from being a passive observer of your bank account to being its active commander. When you do not tell your money where to go, it develops a habit of disappearing into the friction of daily life: subscriptions you don't use, impulse buys that lose their luster in hours, and the convenience tax of modern living. This lack of direction creates a state of financial reactivity where every unexpected car repair or medical bill feels like a personal assault on your stability. By assigning every single dollar a mission before the month even begins, you eliminate the cognitive load of decision-making during the heat of the moment. You aren't restricting your spending, you are intentionally directing your resources toward the things that actually provide long-term value, ensuring that your capital is deployed with the precision of a laser rather than the wastefulness of a shotgun blast. The mechanics of this control require a granular level of tracking that many find tedious, but this data is the lifeblood of financial dominance. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Tracking every expense serves a dual purpose. It provides an honest mirror of your current habits and creates a feedback loop for future adjustments. Most people are shocked to find that their small daily habits often exceed their primary housing or transportation costs over a yearly period. The wealthy understand that these leakages are the silent killers of compounding interest. By categorizing income and expenses, you gain the clarity needed to identify where you are over-leveraged and where you have untapped capacity to grow. This isn't just about cutting back, it's about optimization. It's about ensuring that your lifestyle doesn't creep upward every time you receive a raise, a phenomenon known as lifestyle inflation. If your expenses rise at the same rate as your income, you are effectively a high-income hamster on a very expensive wheel. True power comes from widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and that gap is only created through disciplined, intentional control. Furthermore, controlling your money means understanding the difference between price and value. The top 1% are often the most frugal people in the room when it comes to things that don't matter, while being aggressively willing to spend on things that do. When you lead your financial life, you stop being a victim of marketing and societal pressure. You no longer feel the need to keep up with the Joneses because you recognize that the Joneses are likely drowning in debt to maintain a facade. Financial leadership is the ability to say no to a temporary luxury in favor of a permanent legacy. This level of sovereignty transforms your relationship with work as well. When your finances are under control, you no longer work out of desperation but out of choice. You are no longer a slave to a paycheck because you have built a fortress of liquidity and managed risk. This psychological shift is perhaps the greatest benefit of all: the peace of mind that comes from knowing exactly where you stand and exactly where you are going. You become the architect of your destiny rather than a passenger in a vehicle driven by impulse and circumstance. Lesson 2: Pay yourself first. The fundamental flaw in most people's financial strategy is that they treat their future self as a secondary beneficiary. They receive their paycheck, pay the landlord, the utility company, the grocer, and the entertainment providers, and then if there is anything left, they might put a small amount into savings. This is the leftover mentality, and it is a guaranteed recipe for mediocrity. The wealthy operate on a completely inverted hierarchy. They view their savings and investment contributions as an invoice from their future self that must be paid before anyone else gets a dime. This isn't just a mathematical trick, it is a profound declaration of self-worth. By paying yourself first, you are acknowledging that your long-term security and freedom are more important than the immediate demands of your creditors or the temptations of the marketplace. This habit forces a healthy forced scarcity on the rest of your budget, making you more creative and disciplined with the remaining 90% of your income. The true magic of paying yourself first lies in the power of compounding interest, which Albert Einstein famously called the eighth wonder of the world. Even a modest 10% of your income, if invested consistently in productive assets, has the power to grow into a staggering sum over time. The key variable in the wealth equation is not the amount of money you start with, but the duration for which that money is allowed to work. When you pay yourself first, you are buying time. You are ensuring that every month a fresh platoon of money soldiers is sent out into the market to capture more wealth for you. Over decades, the growth of these investments begins to outpace your earned income, eventually reaching a crossover point where your assets generate enough cash flow to cover your lifestyle. This is the definition of true wealth. Those who wait until the end of the month to save often find that there is never quite enough left, effectively robbing their future self to pay for a present that they may not even remember in 5 years. Implementing this strategy requires automation and an iron will. In the digital age, there is no excuse for manual saving. The most successful wealth builders set up automatic transfers that trigger the moment their paycheck hits their account. This removes the element of human willpower from the equation. Willpower is a finite resource that can fail you after a stressful day or during a holiday season. Automation, however, never tires. It treats your wealth building as a non-negotiable operating expense. Furthermore, as your income grows, the pay yourself first principle dictates that you should increase your percentage of self-payment rather than just increasing your consumption. If you can maintain your lifestyle while your income doubles, and you direct that extra 50% into assets, you accelerate your journey to financial independence by decades. This is how the wealthy stay wealthy. They don't just work for money, they prioritize the acquisition of capital above all else, ensuring that they are always the primary beneficiary of their own labor. Lesson 3. Turn income into assets. To understand how the top 1% operate, one must master the distinction between an asset and a liability. To the average person, a home or a car is an asset. To the wealthy, an asset is strictly defined as something that puts money into your pocket on a recurring basis, while a liability is something that takes money out. The middle class often spends their lives collecting high-end liabilities, boats, luxury cars, and designer clothing that require maintenance, insurance, and interest payments, all while depreciating in value. In contrast, the wealthy are obsessed with the acquisition of income-producing assets. They view every dollar earned not as a coupon for a purchase, but as a seed that can be planted to grow a money tree. This shift in focus from buying things to buying cash flow is what separates those who look rich from those who actually are. Stocks, bonds, private businesses, and rental real estate are the tools of this trade, providing a diversified stream of income that is decoupled from the owner's physical labor. The beauty of assets is that they work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without requiring sleep, health insurance, or vacations. When you own a share of a profitable company, thousands of employees are working to increase the value of your holding and pay you dividends. When you own a piece of real estate, a tenant is essentially paying off your mortgage while the property hopefully appreciates in value. This is the essence of making money work for you. The goal is to reach a state of critical mass, where the total output of your asset portfolio exceeds your cost of living. Once this occurs, you are no longer required to trade your time for money. You have achieved total autonomy. The average person focuses on increasing their earned income, the most highly taxed form of income, whereas the wealthy focus on passive or portfolio income, which often carries significant tax advantages. By reinvesting the returns from their assets back into more assets, they create a snowball effect that becomes virtually unstoppable over time. Turning income into assets also requires a high degree of patience and a willingness to be misunderstood. In the early stages of wealth building, your assets may only produce a few dollars a month. It is tempting to look at that small amount and conclude that the strategy isn't working. However, the top 1% understand the S-curve of growth. For a long time, the results seem negligible, but once the compounding takes hold, the growth becomes vertical. This often means living a life that looks smaller than your income would suggest. While your peers are financing the latest SUV, you are putting that same monthly payment into an index fund or a REIT. Years later, when those peers are still working to pay off their liabilities, your assets will be providing you with a lifestyle they can only dream of, and your lifestyle will be paid for by your assets, not your sweat. This is the ultimate form of financial alchemy, converting the temporary energy of your labor into the permanent, self-sustaining energy of capital. Lesson 4. Master emotional discipline. In the world of finance, your greatest enemy is not the market, the economy, or the tax code. It is the person staring back at you in the mirror. Human beings are biologically hardwired for survival, which translates poorly to the stock market. Our ancestors survived by running from danger and chasing rewards. But in investing, running from danger often means selling at the bottom of a crash, and chasing rewards means buying into a bubble at the top. The top 1% have mastered the art of emotional discipline, which is the ability to separate their feelings from their financial decisions. They understand that volatility is the price of admission for long-term gains. When the market dips and the headlines scream of impending doom, the disciplined investor does not panic. Instead, they see a sale on high-quality assets. They have the fortitude to stay the course when everyone else is fleeing, and the humility to stay cautious when everyone else is euphoric. Impulse is the silent thief of wealth. Whether it's the impulse to buy a new gadget, the impulse to day trade a hot tip from social media, or the impulse to compare one's progress to a neighbor, these emotional reactions lead to catastrophic leaks in your financial bucket. Emotional discipline is about developing a wait-and-see approach to all significant expenditures and investments. The wealthy use cooling-off periods and strict investment criteria to filter out the noise of the moment. They recognize that excitement is usually a sign that a mistake is about to be made. True wealth building is, for the most part, incredibly boring. It involves doing the same right things, saving, investing, and waiting thousands of times over. Those who chase the adrenaline of the big win or the high of a shopping spree inevitably find themselves starting over from scratch. By treating money as a tool rather than an emotional barometer, you can make objective decisions based on math and logic rather than fear and greed. Furthermore, emotional discipline involves the mastery of delayed gratification, which is perhaps the single greatest predictor of financial success. The ability to endure a small amount of discomfort now for a massive reward later is what separates the masters of money from the masses. This discipline extends to how you handle setbacks. The wealthy do not view a loss as a personal failure or a reason to give up. They view it as a tuition payment in the school of experience. They stay calm, analyze the data, and adjust their strategy. They don't let their ego get in the way of cutting a loss, nor do they let a win go to their head and lead to overconfidence. By maintaining a steady long-term perspective, you become immune to the get-rich-quick schemes that prey on the desperate and the impatient. You realize that wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, and that the person who can stay the most level-headed over the longest period will almost always come out on top. Lesson 5. Never stop learning about money. Financial literacy is not a destination you reach, it is a landscape that is constantly shifting. The laws of taxation change, new technologies like blockchain and AI disrupt old industries, and global economic cycles evolve. The top 1% are obsessive learners because they understand that information is the ultimate leverage. The more you know, the less risk you take. Most people stop their financial education the moment they leave school or land their first job, leaving them with an outdated understanding of how the world works. In contrast, the wealthy are voracious readers, attendees of seminars, and seekers of mentors. They understand that a single insight from a book or a conversation can be worth millions of dollars over a lifetime. They study the history of money to recognize patterns, and they study the psychology of people to understand market sentiment. This commitment to intellectual compounding is just as important as the compounding of their capital. Moreover, never-ending learning allows you to see opportunities that are invisible to the uneducated eye. When you understand how a balance sheet works, you can see the hidden value in a distressed company. When you understand the nuances of real estate zoning or tax-advantaged accounts, you can find loopholes and advantages that are perfectly legal but unknown to the general public. Education breeds confidence, and confidence allows you to act decisively when a true opportunity arises. Those who lack knowledge are often paralyzed by fear or, conversely, reckless due to ignorance. By constantly expanding your financial circle of competence, you decrease the role that luck plays in your success. You become a person who can manufacture their own luck by being prepared when opportunity meets preparation. This habit of study also keeps you humble. The more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know, which prevents the kind of arrogance that leads to massive financial blunders. Finally, the wealthy understand that the best investment they can ever make is in themselves. Your ability to earn, manage, and grow money is your primary engine of wealth. If you lose all your physical assets but retain your financial education, you can build it all back and faster the second time around. This is why the top 1% prioritize soft skills like negotiation, leadership, and communication alongside hard skills like accounting and market analysis. They are always seeking to sharpen their axe. They don't just follow the news, they analyze it through a critical lens, asking, how does this affect my strategy, and where is the opportunity here? In a world of rapidly accelerating change, the ability to learn and adapt is the only true security. By dedicating yourself to lifelong financial education, you ensure that you remain the master of your money rather than a victim of a system you don't understand. You move from a place of uncertainty to a place of mastery, where every challenge becomes a lesson and every lesson becomes a stepping stone to greater freedom. Here's the truth most people avoid: wealth isn't built in a moment, it's built in habits. Small decisions, repeated daily, shape your financial destiny. The top 1% didn't start with some secret advantage. They started with awareness, discipline, and a commitment to play the long game. Think about where you are right now. Are you reacting to money or directing it? Are you spending first and saving later, or building your future intentionally? Because the difference between financial stress and financial freedom often comes down to just a few consistent choices. What makes these lessons powerful is their simplicity. You don't need a huge salary to begin. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to start. Control your money. Pay yourself first. Invest in assets. Stay disciplined. Keep learning. Step by step, you move closer to a life where money is no longer a source of fear, but a tool for freedom. So don't just watch this and move on. Take one lesson and apply it today. Because years from now, you won't regret starting, you'll only regret waiting.